Hi everyone, Lisa here from the RISD Career Center. Well, of course, I'm not actually at the Career Center. I'm hunkering down at home with our kitties. They think us having home all the time is the best, and they're not going to be happy when things return to normal. These are crazy days. I hope you're all staying focused, calm, well, and strong. We don't know much these days, but we do know the Fulbright application 2020 is in full swing. Keep in mind, if you apply in 2020, it is for grant projects that begin in the fall of 2021. That is a long time from now, and when this lifts, we need artists and designers out there more than ever considering creative ways to address problems, engage communities, and make the world a better place. And a great way to do that is through Fulbright. First, if you're intending to apply this year, great. Now is the time to get serious about this and consider that you will need to set some time aside for Fulbright from now through September. If you're interested in next year or the year after, also great. It is never too early to start thinking about a Fulbright grant. Some can pull this off in 6 months, but many take 1 to 2 years to develop their proposal. I don't want to assume anyone out there has more or less time these days. Some people are bored and some are crazy busy. But maybe this is a good time for you to poke around and consider Fulbright. So let's talk all things Fulbright. A little about me. I'm Lisa Kramer. I'm RISD's Fulbright Program Advisor, or FPA. I'm not an artist. I know that is an odd way to start a presentation at RISD, and it's a bit of a stretch, but my not being a formally trained artist may be a benefit to you. You are surrounded by talented artists. I'm another voice. I work to help you look at your proposals and applications in a different way, which can be particularly helpful when you're applying for a grant like Fulbright that is not solely art or design focused. And you have to make your case to a variety of audiences, to a well-educated, non-art specific audience. What I do have is a lot of grant writing experience, and I've spent my professional career in international programs and grant management. I've written a lot of grants for everything from bathroom renovations to refugee resettlement to arts education. I'm here to help you pull all the pieces together into a compelling proposal, no matter your discipline or project content. So about Fulbright, the program goal is to increase mutual understanding between the people of the US and people of other countries through exchange. It was created by Congress in 1946 to promote international goodwill through the exchange of students in the fields of education, culture, and science. It's funded through US Congress, administered in the US by the Institute of International Education. So this is a government grant, which you should keep in mind as you consider your audience. It is also very important that you always keep in mind that Fulbright is, at heart, about meaningful cross-cultural exchange. This grant is open to graduating seniors, recent graduates, and graduate students. You need to be a US citizen by application deadline, at least a bachelor's degree by the start of the grant, be proficient in the language of the host country, which of course varies by the country, have limited experience in the host country, plus there are country-specific requirements. There are 2 main grants. The Study Research Grant is independent research study or art projects abroad. There are 950 plus awards for 8 to 10 months in 140 countries. The English Teaching Assistant Program is a program in which you help teach English and US culture in the classroom. I'm going to focus on the Study Research Grant as that is what most RISD students are interested in, but know that we are happy to help you with an ETA application too. Keep in mind though that an ETA opportunity comes with the expectation that you have experience in teaching, experience in working with non-native English speakers, specific teaching ideas and methods, and can make a clear connection as to why teaching English will support your long-term goals. So a little more on the Study Research Grant in the creative arts. You will need a well-developed project and/or study plan that, in Fulbright's words, improves your craft, which means art and design making needs to be central in the study, research, and outcomes. You need to develop and document a host country affiliation relationship. This might be with a university, research think tank, lab, library, community organization, or a nonprofit, in which you receive mentorship and critique, maybe access to facilities or equipment. Perhaps you're taking a class or a workshop. Plus, you could be supporting their research or class or assisting in a production or a conference. You will need a compelling visual portfolio that supports the grant activities. Consider that your portfolio will be reviewed by U.S. artists and designers and host country experts who are likely not all artists and designers. You need to include meaningful host country community engagement and have a high level of academic, professional, and artistic achievement, and demonstrated leadership, flexibility, adaptability, and openness. There is an additional program called the Fulbright National Geographic Storytelling Fellowship. This is really exciting, but it's a little tricky. It's a supplemental to the study research grant. It is the same online application, but with added components, including an additional storytelling project proposal and a storytelling portfolio and narrative. Only if you receive the study research grant will you be considered for the National Geographic Storytelling Fellowship, which means your study research project must be first and foremost. Your National Geographic proposed project cannot detract from your study research project. Again, your study research project must stand alone with National Geographic Storytelling Fellowship as a possible enhancement. While they welcome all disciplines, know that they are looking for academic storytellers who can tell research-based stories. You have to have demonstrated experience in storytelling, and it is incredibly competitive. If you're seriously interested and it makes sense for you and your work, you will need to carefully review all the details of this program. What are the award benefits? Round-trip airfare, monthly stipend, accident and sickness benefits, and then other possible benefits based on the country. And post-grant, once you return from a Fulbright experience, you will have gained new skills, perspective, and insight that will influence you for the rest of your life, along with Fulbright being a great network builder and resume builder. One of the most common questions about benefits is, can I defer my loans while I'm on a Fulbright grant for a year? And know that the answer is yes. What does a Fulbright project look like? It is so hard to define. There are so many variables, from your skills and interests to your affiliate's area of expertise, and there are 140 countries, each with their own interests and requirements. The possibilities are endless, but there are basically 3 broad types with lots of gray area in between. Independent study research. This is the traditional Fulbright Award. You design a project from beginning to end that allows you to work with the people of the host country to mutually advance in your field of interest. Some countries offer graduate enrollment as an option. In this case, the program, activities, and outcomes are set. It's graduate study. However, this can be tricky as you have to make a strong case for this isn't just about funding for graduate study. Why is this a Fulbright? What is a meaningful cross-cultural exchange? Why this country? How is this something that you can't do in the US? It is important that you make a case for how your exploration goes beyond the institution of graduate study. And for most countries, you also have to be accepted to the university program, usually through a separate process. This is what most RISD Fulbrighters do, hybrids. Most have some connection to a university, academy, or institution in which there is some structured class or workshop type learning, plus some sort of independent mission, some burning question that they are looking to explore. Usually, to do this effectively, RISD applicants have secondary affiliates which get them out in the community, exploring, practicing, and applying. Let's consider a real Fulbright project. This is Gail. I worked with Gail on her application in 2017. She received the award spring 2018. Brazil's academic year begins in February, so her Fulbright year actually began February 2019 and just ended December 2019. Gail isn't with me in this webinar, but she was very gracious to tell me about her experience, send me some photos, and pass along great advice. What did she propose? To investigate the nationwide practice of repurposed materiality entrenched in Brazilian culture. She asked, How has Brazil's spontaneous and makeshift style of problem solving woven its way into Brazil's cultural fabric? And how can integrating this mindset at the beginning of a process change the end product for the better? In her work, Gail was striving to find something she refers to as the wiggle, instances in which materials, objects, or people no longer have defined limitations and can fluctuate between hard and soft, rigid or flexible. Her line of inquiry in Brazil focused on the quest for this wiggle. What was her experience like? Gail split her time between projects with her affiliates, the Instituto Campano, and classes at the Graduate School of Architecture and Urbanism at the University of Sao Paulo. Plus, she participated in 2 artist residencies. The highlight of her experience actually was the artist residencies. She didn't propose these residencies in her application, but when she arrived, she found her 2 affiliations had less projects than she thought. She found herself with idle time and decided that finding a way to incorporate her studio practice was the best way to pivot. Plus, these web residencies essentially created a social life for her, as both programs had 12 other artists participating. Additional highlights for her were traveling around Brazil and learning to speak Portuguese, which is a personal goal of hers. Her biggest challenge was a tie between learning the language and figuring out how to do this project once she realized her affiliations weren't going to be quite as time-consuming as she originally thought. The 2 residencies helped her overcome both of these challenges. What was the most surprising? Gail had not had much time to work on her own work since graduating from RISD, so she was happily surprised to have time to spend in the studio researching and making alongside other artists. She wrote, "It was such a valuable experience to have the support to work for myself. This is also what she is most excited about continuing now that she is back in the US." And now, Gail returned from Brazil at the very end of 2019 and moved to New York. In January, she started her job as education coordinator at Urban Glass in Brooklyn. She said, "It's great to dive back into the glass world after this experience. I think I am still processing exactly where this time in Brazil will lead me, but for now, I am just working on starting my studio practice back up in New York." A little later in this webinar, I'm going to pass along important tips from Gail. Let's move on to Fulbright resources. The Fulbright website is extensive. Everything you need is there. But because there's so much to navigate, I'm going to give you a tour and highlight the important pages for you to start reviewing. First, be sure you're on the Fulbright US Student Program website, not the Fulbright Scholars website or a host country's Fulbright website. Make sure it says US Student at the top. Probably the most exciting pages are the country information and requirements, found here by region. For example, let's look at Romania. Here you will find the grant period, if they have anything in particular they are looking for in candidates, such as disciplines, area of focus, or degree levels. Of course, you'll want to check out the language requirement right away. Any restrictions on preferences on affiliation type will be listed on this page. And you may also find a link to the host country website or an email to an actual human. Process information is found under the Applicants tab, Application Components. Choose the grant, Creative and Performing Arts. Here you will find each application component with drop-downs that include considerable details on instructions and tips. Visual material requirements are found under Supplemental Materials. The visual materials are not supplementary though, they are required and very important. Click on the link to Required Materials. You get to a list of the Fulbright disciplines with drop-downs to the requirements for each. You will have to choose a discipline. There is no multidiscipline option. It's not that you can't have a multidisciplinary practice or project, but because there are so many applicants, they have to put you in categories to review. So you will have to choose what best fits your project and consider your audience. Fulbright offers online information sessions April through October. Under the Applicants tab, under Information Sessions, you will find Webinars for Applicants. These are one-hour sessions in which you will hear from Fulbright experts and hear questions from your peers around the country. It is important that you listen to 1 or 2 of these. I listen to 20 every year and learn a little something new each time. It is also important that you hear from Fulbright directly to confirm what I'm telling you and to provide you with new perspectives. If you see one that you're really interested in, but you miss it, make note. Then go to recorded webinars and you can listen in. I am often an applicant's first go-to, but know that Fulbright program officers who work for IIE are there to help too. Sometimes I don't know the country-specific answer. There are 140 countries, so it will be best for you to email or call the program officers directly. Their contact information can be found by going to the very tiny contacts at the bottom of the page. In very tiny font at the top right, you will find a link to a page of interesting statistics. You will find applicants and awards for each country. I did the math, and for 2020-2021, for the Czech Republic, 35.7% study research projects were awarded. For Denmark, 20% study research projects were awarded. By no means should statistics solely guide your choice. If you are passionate about a country and your project is a great fit for that country, don't even look at the statistics. But if you are open and the statistics may help you make a decision, take a look. You may want to poke around in the statistics and consider a less competitive country. Obviously, English-speaking countries are more competitive. The UK is by far the most competitive. If you speak another language, consider how that might be an advantage. And if you speak French, maybe instead of France, which is quite competitive, consider Benin, Morocco, or Burkina Faso. If you don't speak another language, consider a country like Latvia or Norway with no language requirement, or Laos or Malaysia that have more flexible language requirements. Learning some of the language is still important to these countries, but because their language is not commonly taught in the US, they are more flexible. Also in statistics, you will find a link to the top producing institutions. RISD students and alum do very well in this competition, and RISD is a top producing school in the specialized institution category. Right now, for grants starting this fall, we have 3 semifinalists patiently waiting to hear the final decision, and 1 finalist who just heard the good news. Also, in the tiny white font on the top right is a grantee directory with Fulbright alumni across the country in all disciplines. I did a search on sculpture and India, which resulted in 12 Fulbrighters. There's not a lot of information on each Fulbrighter here, but the directory may give you some project idea leads or help you determine country interests, and maybe even lead you to someone to contact. Fulbrighters are often happy to talk to applicants about their experience. But when looking for Fulbright artists for inspiration or support, I suggest you start at RISD's Career Center website. Scroll down to learn more about Fulbright, and then to RISD Fulbright Showcase. You will get to a site of RISD Fulbrighters. Over 30 are on this site. In stories, you can read about their projects, and you can connect with them through their website or see what they are up to on their Instagram. In the Experience Gallery, you can see some great photos of their lives and of the people they worked with while on the Fulbright grant. And in the Artwork Gallery, you can see both what they submitted to receive the grant and the results of their projects. This website is a great place to go for inspiration and make connections. But for the nitty-gritty, how does this actually work for RISD students? Go back to the RISD Careers website Fulbright section. There are 2 very important documents to guide your process: the checklist and deadlines, and the RISD Getting Started. First, though, consider, will you be applying through RISD? If enrolled in the fall, you are encouraged to apply through your institution. If you are an alum who graduated in the past 3 years, you have the option to apply through RISD. If you choose not to apply through RISD, you are considered at large, and you are welcome to apply on your own. It is not seen as a disadvantage by Fulbright in any way. Know that the pro to applying through RISD is you will receive intensive support. But the con may be you must follow RISD's internal deadlines. We require you to submit to RISD in mid-August. Fulbright's national deadline is early October. Our internal deadlines are in place so we can effectively, efficiently, and fairly support all of you through the process. but they are also in place for your benefit. We know from past experience that applicants that start late really struggle and then decide to wait until the next year. This is RISD's checklist and deadlines. This is the first page of the document, a visual look at the deadline. The required deadlines are in green, recommended deadlines are in blue. This document goes on to provide additional milestones for each application component. This document will help you guide your process. The first two deadlines are 5/22 to meet with the FPA, that's me, and 6/7, first drafts are due, and then the first complete submit is 8/16. Keep in mind, summer can be very challenging. Consider that many countries have a culture of long holidays in the summer, and holiday means a real break. You may find that affiliate contacts are not available, particularly mid-July to early September. And we strongly encourage you to submit documents before the deadlines. This will provide you with earlier reviews, meaning more time to redraft, incorporate feedback, fine-tune, and move on to your next draft or another application component. The second important document is the RISD Getting Started. This is the index page. The first thing you will notice is that it's 17 pages. Keep in mind, Brown's Fulbright Manual is 30 pages. Consider that this is a condensed version of the Fulbright website, webinars, and our expertise working with applicants over the years. It has everything for RISD artists and designers in one place. So in this case, 17 pages all in one place is not a lot. This is your resource. Take the time to read it over once and then use it as a reference throughout the process. The RISD Getting Started document walks you through each application component with detailed advice. Plus, it has valuable information on how to work with me, what makes you a strong candidate, what makes a competitive proposal. So what are the components? Affiliation. Applicants must find and arrange their affiliations. Countries have specific requirements, but it is usually with a university, nonprofit, or research think tank. It cannot be with a for-profit company. Applicants must build the relationship and then document the nature of the relationship in a letter. Yes, this can be hard and can take time. So start early, just do it. Don't wait for the perfect draft or perfect project idea. Who your affiliate is, what they can offer, what they would like in return will affect your project ideas and your proposal. You want to work with your affiliate to develop your project. There are tips in the RISD Getting Started document to help your search and develop your affiliation. We also have an email outreach template and actual affiliate letters we can review with you during advising appointments. Statement and grant purpose. This is a 2-page proposal outlining all the details and purpose of your project. There are a number of tools to get you started in project development and writing. In the RISD Getting Started document on page 10, you can find these prompts to ensure that you hit key content. This is in a way to interview yourself. You can use these prompts as headers to help you focus, and then as your drafts develop, you delete and turn it into a concise 2-page document. In fact, I often use these as a checklist when I review your first draft. Do consider that less is more. The purpose statement needs to be clear and straightforward. You need a focused, unique direction and plan to get busy reviewers on board. Personal statement. You have a 1-page to talk about your path. How did you get to this point of applying for a Fulbright? This is where you can be more creative and show some personality. It could be anything really. It is an introduction to you. Obviously, nothing too personal. Remember, this is a government grant, and it should be directly related to your project. Think of this as a 3rd page in connection to your purpose statement. This is a great place for critical reflection. Fulbright loves critical reflection and seeing that you have an awareness of your arc of growth. What did you learn? What did you try? What did you realize? And how did that change your perspective and your next steps? This is also a place for examples and stories rather than listing, like a resume. Deep reflection of one story in your path is better than a list. For both the purpose and personal statement, consider in the Getting Started document the section on what makes a competitive proposal. In the document, you will find descriptions for each of these bullets. Read this now at the beginning and keep referring back to it as you develop your proposal. In addition, consider asking yourself the two big important questions. First, why this country? Beyond the institution you'll be working with. If you picked this project up for Sweden and moved it to the Netherlands, is it the same thing? How is it unique to Sweden? Second, how will this experience improve your craft? Beyond inspiration or a new place to practice, what skills are you gaining to specifically improve your craft? Visual materials. You are the experts on this. You know how to do this well, but there are numerous tips in the RISD Getting Started document. And a few important tips for me are: consider your audience carefully. Your reviewers are not only artists. Connect your images to your grant project. Curate the order thoughtfully. Take advantage of the image descriptions. Tell your reviewers, your non-art reviewers, more about your process and your ways of thinking. Depending on the country, a language self-evaluation and a professional evaluation may be required or recommended. There are 3 recommendation letters required. Choose wisely in terms of who will write a meaningful letter and who will be timely. At the application stage, unofficial transcripts are required, so you will need to collect these documents, scan them neatly, and upload them into the application. And finally, the online application, which is very long and includes 5 to 6 additional essays. Start this early. This is not a last-minute thing. And be neat and consistent in both content and in formatting. You want to have a strong application package from beginning to end. The final weeks can be fairly intense, so I'm going to walk you through the submission steps. You submit the complete application through the Fulbright online system by 8/16, but I see it first. Fulbright is not looking at it at this point. If you apply through RISD, there is the extra step of an interview by a RISD Fulbright committee. Know that RISD is not a gatekeeper. We submit all application. The interview's purpose is to ensure that you are prepared to carry out your proposed project and provide you an opportunity for you to receive additional feedback. After your interview, I unsubmit your application and you have a last chance for minor changes. Minor changes, not rewriting. Redeveloping after months of work usually doesn't work out too well. This is a time to make careful, select changes to strengthen. Then you resubmit. Again, your resubmission goes to RISD, to me, for a quick review to catch any errors. I then hit my submit button to Fulbright, and it's done. Art applications are first reviewed by U.S. experts by discipline. Semifinalist decisions are announced in January, and then the semifinalist applications go to the host country for review. And then host countries make their decisions. Both governments approve and finalists are announced anytime between February and June, usually in March or April. Gail Foreman has some fantastic, important tips for you. I'm not going to read each of these bullets, but this is a recorded webinar. I strongly encourage you to pause and read what Gail has to share. This is invaluable information from someone who has done it. Yes, she does recommend you take advantage of your RISD resources, and she felt the interview was very helpful. Start early, and I can't agree more. If you start early, you can start expansive and then take the time you need to really narrow and focus. Build a network of support and trust yourself. I love this quote from Gail. It was a combination of minding the universe and my own mind. Why this country may not be clear at first, and that's okay. After months of research, writing, and making connections, it will make perfect sense at the end. Why this country is so critical to Fulbright. Find people to poke and prod you and be prepared for 8 to 10 drafts, minimum. Don't start with a blank page. That can be overwhelming. Pull from other things that you have written to get started. Affiliation can happen. It does happen. Use your connections and don't hesitate to email cold. It's awkward, but just jump in, just do it. Your Fulbright portfolio may be a different portfolio than you submit for residencies or galleries, so do take time to really think this through. Language is likely important, even if it is not required. Think of this as an opportunity. As I reflect on why Gail's proposal was successful, why Brazil was so strong, the connection between her practice and the ideas of the wiggle with the Brazilian mindset of repurpose and reuse was such a great fit. Her community engagement was obvious. Her project was collaborative. She had a university and nonprofit affiliates, plus her past work documented not only her collaborative spirit, but her fun, engaging personality. There was a strong exchange element. You could clearly see her participating in workshops as a teacher and student, exchanging ideas and techniques. In her application, she included past activities that proved she would share with her new community in various ways. She was prepared, but she made a case for room for growth. She clearly had the art and design background, but this cultural exploration would allow her to experiment with materials and take her work to a new level. It was well written, clear, narrow, structured, and her passion for this experience really shone. Her application overall was a pleasure to read. The wiggle is, I'm sure, something reviewers didn't forget. I've given you a lot of information and resources here, but how do you get started? Grant writing is just as much about organization skills as it is project development. Develop organizational tools based on your style to keep track of your research, drafts, and affiliate outreach, and set personal milestones to help you meet the deadlines. Review the country summary pages, which is really exciting, and it is important to find out early on if there are special requirements. Start drafting your purpose and personal statements early. The first draft, the commitment in writing, and the feedback you receive, this is when things really start to take off. Find help. Do ask for help. This is a complicated grant. Find people who will support your application process. Meet with me, but not only me. I'm only one voice in this process. Find someone in your discipline to guide your research and content. Find someone to give you feedback on your image choices. Get a professor on board, maybe before the end of the semester. Maybe you can send them a draft or two this summer. Reach out to the RISD Center for Arts and Language. They are an excellent resource for brainstorming or fine-tuning your proposal. Talk to RISD Global about where RISD might have connections in your host country. A final word of wisdom on getting help from me. Get advice early in the process rather than at the end. At this stage, all voices are important. At the end, your voice is important. Last-minute advice is dangerous as it can really throw you off. Everyone will see something different. Well-intentioned advice can send you down a rabbit hole after months of hard work, and it is really hard to recover from that. And a final word of wisdom from Gail in her always clever style. I quote, "I have a very important ice cream recommendation. Start early. Don't be afraid for things to change throughout the entire application process or even the project itself. You are all artists, so I personally think that our way of researching should allow for some unknowns." I want to leave you with a reminder of the first deadlines. Meet with the FPA, again that's me, by 5/22. Make an appointment with me on the Career Center website. We are Zooming. We're Zooming a lot these days. Soon I will be only taking appointments for those intending to apply this year, but Jason and Scott will continue taking appointments for those interested in Fulbright, no matter what stage they are in the process. First drafts are due 6/7. This is a draft, and there will be many more, but it should be a serious, thoughtful draft, not an outline, not bullets, and in the correct format and page numbers, proofed for typos and grammar errors. You don't have to have all the answers for this first draft. Start pretending. Imagine. The more thoughtful your drafts are, the deeper I can go in my review to provide feedback that will help you take it to the next level. And finally, I want to emphasize what an amazing experience Fulbright is. Even the application process itself is a valuable experience, from the research to developing relationships overseas, to writing, to submitting. A Fulbright proposal is a lot of work, maybe the most intense proposal you will ever write. Any other grants after that will seem easy. And it will not be a waste of time. I look forward to working with you. Thank you, everyone, and be safe.